When you're given a book and you're told, here's Peru on a map, that's really cool, but it doesn't really stick with you. But then they bring you here, on the land, on the soil, in the mountains, and it sticks with you in a way no amount of textbooks will ever stick with you. And it's the most amazing thing because you can tell me 1,000 stories, but I'm very much living the story here.
One of the most important things in designing this experience for students was that we weren't glossing over these communities and that we were allowing students to have an authentic experience. So we live in these communities. We don't live in hotels. We don't stay in the finest parts of the city.
This trip is for 2 weeks. We explored the different communities that are working together to help produce this coffee, and that's where we got more involved with Café Femenino.
Profesores y estudiantes de la Universidad de San Jerónimo, de Canadá. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? Ellos ya están trabajando con nosotros hace más de 6 años.
St. Jerome's has been involved with Café Femenino since 2008.
Café Femenino es una propuesta de incorporación de las mujeres a la organización. Está muy arraigada la concepción de que la mujer es para la casa y para las tareas domésticas, de hacer visible el trabajo de ellas dentro de la sociedad, dentro de la organización, dentro de la familia, dar valor económico al producto que ellas tienen.
Café Femenino represents this collective of women that have had the opportunity to actually gain access to land, farm that land, produce a very high-end product, and gain access to fair trade certifications and organic certifications that make that product incredibly marketable to the outside world.
Este es un terreno que ha comprado la asociación para construir su local institucional. Este terreno se ha comprado con el premio de comercio justo por la venta de su café y ahora la Universidad de San Jerónimo está muy interesado en apoyarnos con la construcción. Habrá mucho esfuerzo, mucho trabajo, pero es un incentivo muy grande el apoyo que está recibiendo de la Universidad de San Jerónimo.
It's an incredible experience for the students because it allows them to work on a project that was designed by a fellow student.
The community center was designed by a St. Jerome student named Luis, and he was here a couple months ago for a 3-month work term.
It's very hard work. It's a really cool working environment because we don't necessarily understand them, they don't necessarily understand us, but we're still able to understand the job that needs to be done.
Isabel's a hero here. She's a legend. Watching her in every single community that we visited has been amazing to see. She is a leader in every vein of the word.
Por otro lado, creo que los estudiantes también van entendiendo que la vida quizás que ellos tienen allá en el norte con todas las comunidades no es el único mundo que hay, ¿no? Sino que hay un mundo y quizás mucho más grande, que es el mundo desarrollado, que es un mundo con muchas dificultades, con muchos problemas.
For the students, it's a positive experience because it pushes them to experience a different way of life. There's nothing wrong with being born into a privileged society, but one has to accept the responsibility of that privilege.
From there, we went on to other communities. We hiked for a lot of time.
We were going through a little river, and halfway through the guy just went into the water and the water got stuck into the engine, and we were just like sitting there, we were like, what is going on? We were extremely trapped because we were in the middle of a jungle. And it took us a couple of hours, but then they pulled the truck out of the water.
Viajes muchas veces con lluvia, otras veces caminando, pero por un lado la comunidad se siente reconocida, se siente que alguien más está pensando en ellos, alguien más está queriendo ayudarles. Esta relación empodera también a las comunidades saben del apoyo que viene de la colaboración de San Jerónimo.
We are in Agua Azul and we're with Sabina today and we're about to go picking coffee beans.
In the last 6 years, the relationship has changed in that when we first started working with Café Femenino, we were foreigners, we were outsiders. And I think over time what's happened is we've become part of that extended family.
Oh, it was unreal. I drink multiple cups of coffee a day, and I had no idea of the process.
I think often when we think of international development, we think about what can we give someone, what can we provide them, and that's a very imperialistic idea. And I think Isabel has really helped me understand how you have to start at the bottom and you have to listen. And it's got to be grassroots or it's not going to work and it's not going to be sustainable. And her accomplishments in these communities and the community's accomplishments are their own. They're not somebody else's from the outside.
We got to pick the beans, and then we got to watch them be washed off, and then we got to see how they get dried.
Sí, pruébese. Sí, a ver, para que aprenda a moler café.
This is harder than I was. And the next day, we went to the factory. And then we got to taste the coffee, which was my favorite part.
Esta relación entre los productores y la academia, la universidad, es una relación muy productiva porque hay un encuentro de culturas, hay un encuentro de conocimientos y yo también entiendo que para los muchachos que vienen de la universidad es una lección muy importante el involucrarse en las comunidades tan pobres, tan alejadas y ver que tanta necesidad existe y comparar con la realidad de la que vienen de Canadá.
What's another word?
Apple, manzana. Manzana, manzana.
Debe ser un choque muy importante para ellos, bien para pensar en el futuro del mundo, de la humanidad.
Cafe Femenino is an ideal more than it is anything else. It's this idea that we can empower women, and through the empowerment of women, there is this trickle-down effect throughout the community, and that impacts the children, that impacts their education, that impacts the dynamic between men and women, and on a macro level, impacts the development of the community as a whole.
After Chiclayo, we went to Cusco, and that's where we got to meet Nathan. And we got to meet the girls, and we visited his shelter called Pura Vida.
Bueno, aquí es la cocina. Aquí son nuestras plantas. Y bueno, están creciendo capulín, chiquititos. Aquí es el comedor donde comemos. Aquí es nuestro escritorio. Aquí es nuestro cuarto y vamos a pasar adentro. Duermo aquí. Aquí duerme mi hermana Yoni. Aquí duerme Maribel y aquí Grimanesa. Aquí es la azotea donde algunas veces con mis hermanos subimos aquí a leer libros.
El Hogar Pura Vida me apoya en mis estudios, en nuestros alimentos y nos brinda una buena educación.
Pura Vida Foundation is an organization that works in Cusco, Peru, and it's specifically addressing the need of young women that have been victims of sexual violence and the sex trade. I think I was drawn to Pura Vida because it's working in a domain, in a field where there's not a lot of NGOs working. I think the general work of the organization is sometimes pretty dark, and it's work that I think a lot of organizations are steering away from. But I think it's important issues, and it's a range of challenges that face this city and face a lot of cities in the world that I think Pura Vida is tackling and wrestling with.
I think the education system is the most important thing to build on, because if we can start rehabilitating these young girls, we can start educating them also, educating them in how they should be treated.
Estando en el Hogar de Acción Pura Vida, no sé, me siento bien acogida, que me den unas oportunidades para estudiar y seguir adelante.
Yo considero que mi trabajo es acompañar en el crecimiento emocional, espiritual, psicológico.
Currently, the Pura Vida organization is able to house 7 girls in the shelter that's located in Cusco. This is amazing, but there's clearly so many other girls who really need and deserve the opportunity to access these resources that the Pura Vida shelter has the dreams to provide them with. And so what they're planning on doing is opening up a brand new shelter in the village of Kaikai, which is just outside of Cusco.
Behind me is the land that we were able to purchase. This piece of land will be our future facility that can house up to 50 kids.
It has been so inspirational to meet someone like Nathan who has just, I mean, when people have asked me like, who is your hero? It's always hard, I think, of Martin Luther King, but I can never think of someone directly. And I think personally, I would probably say Nathan because I've never met anybody so passionate and have an incredibly big heart for the world.
We have come up here to this rural mountain village where it is pretty chilly, and for me, it's difficult for me to be here right now, but then you realize everyone else in this village, this is their life. So it's not valid, my feelings, so to speak. So you really have to like lean into the discomfort, kind of like put yourself into their shoes.
The work that Nathan is doing is absolutely paramount to the success of moving forward with these young girls in the rural areas of Peru.
We moved on to meeting a little boy called Ricardo.
Ricardo is a young boy who was born without part of his leg. St. Jerome's first came into contact with Ricardo through Nathan and the Pura Vida Foundation. Nathan often gets cases that are outside of what he can help with his shelter, but because of the amazing person that he is, he doesn't turn them down, and he still tries to do what he can for them. And so in the case of Ricardo, he created a documentary. He was struggling because he was rapidly outgrowing his prosthetic leg. And it was hours to get to and from school every day, with Valentina, his mother, carrying him. Nathan posed a very simple question that I think catalyzed a huge change in a lot of people's lives. He said, "Do you want to meet Ricardo?"
So when the students went back to SJU, they told Ricardo's story, and they raised funds within the student body to provide sufficient resources to allow Ricardo to have a new leg.
Este es el socket nuevo. Esta es la radiografía del muchacho, o sea, de la pierna, de una amputación bajo rodilla, transtibial. Se nota que está creciendo la tibia, el peroné no crece la tibia, entonces a futuro, a cada 2 años hay que hacer una osteotomía de la tibia para que le permita descargar el peso. Ahora le hemos hecho un socket nuevo con doble fondo para que no choque, esto no choque así.
You could feel how his life has changed and how positive he sees his life now. Just the fact that he was asked like what he would like to be when he grows up.
Yo quiero ser, cuando estudiar, yo quiero ser doctor.
Really goes to show that, you know, he wants to help out other people that might be in similar situations.
Gracias, Nikunin. Kinat porashti, wera kuchinaita, señorita, apia con puriat, estudiante con llapan.
On the development side, it's tough because it's an experience where it would have been so easy to come in, give the leg, and leave. But that's just not the reality of this world. And so we're able to have conversations with students about, yes, we gave Ricardo a leg, but look at all the other things that are going on in his life. It's nothing you can fix with a simple trip down, but it's that exposure to the complex problems that the world has, where we need to start asking questions and start seeing how things connect to each other in order to really make some sustainable impact in this world. I think there are a lot of reasons why we bring students to Peru in the first place, and specifically to meet Ricardo. It gives them an opportunity to witness in a lot of different stories how life is more complex and people are more complex than we usually see them as. And the girls at the Pura Vida shelter are the exact same thing. Their experiences and the struggles that they have could easily define who they are. They're a piece, but there is so much more to them that defines who they are as people. And so we hope that students are able to witness that and search for the complex, holistic nature of the stories of people who they interact with for the rest of their lives.
Now that the trip is almost about to finish, there's only a couple of days left, I feel as if a lot has changed within me, starting from day one till this day.
In our trip, we've met the most incredible people. They say that learning trips are the kind of things you take with you so much out of them, not because of the places that you're in, but because of the people that you meet.
It allows you to realize your privilege, but also realize that you have a responsibility.
My perspective has changed incredibly. I read an interview that Nathan did, and he said that he got out of his bubble and he couldn't go back in, and I feel that that's how I'm going to be. This is something that changes you. You're not going to be able to forget.